Good afternoon. Let's study about the determiner whose by studying the examples, the three examples. The determiner whose is applied in the first example with a precedent, a chocolate. I see a chocolate whose specialty is cafe. The speaker intends to give us the detailed information about what belongs to the precedent or chocolate in the subordinate clause. The speaker clarifies that it is the specialty. So we find that the subject of the subordinate clause is the chocolate specialty. Whose specialty? This is the subject described by the be verb is. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb C in the main clause with the precedent of a chocolate and the subordinate clause whose specialty is cafe. The subordinate clause is linked to the main clause by the phrase of the noun whose specialty, that the determiner whose to indicate the same object that the precedent of chocolate indicates, and the noun specialty that belongs to the precedent of chocolate consists of. The speaker indicates the phrase of the noun whose specialty to indicate the subject that belongs to the object indicated by the precedent of chocolate, as the subject of the be verb is in the subordinate clause. We can break it down. This first example by the two clauses. We all admit that the two clauses can be linked by the speaker finds the shared indication. And we can find that the first indication is stated as the phrase of a general noun or chocolate in the first clause, and we find that the shared indication can be in the possessive determiner, can be in the form of the possessive determiner. It is in the form of the possessive determiner, but it indicates the chocolate. So the speaker links the two clauses by finding the shared indication and description, because the determiner is one of the descriptive words. So the speaker replaces the possessive determiner it into the possessive determiner whose, that is as a subordinating conjunction, and link the whole clause to the after the precedent, the chocolate, the shared indication. The speaker links the subordinate clause to the main clause because the object of the transitive verb C, indicated by the phrase of the noun or chocolate, corresponds with the possessive determiner it, to indicate the subject that the object indicated by the noun specialty belongs to. The speaker replaces the possessive determiner it to indicate the same object as the phrase of the noun or chocolate with the determiner whose. The subordinate clause whose specialty is cafe is linked as a description for the phrase of the noun or chocolate to be the precedent. The second example that the determiner whose is applied in is this. I salute Jesus Christ, whose class I take. In this sentence, we find that the precedent that is stated right ahead of the determiner whose is Jesus Christ. And the speaker intends to give us the detailed information about what belongs to the subject, Jesus Christ, in the subordinate clause. So the speaker applies the determiner whose, and we can get information about the object that belongs to the subject in the President, Jesus Christ. And in the subordinate clause, we find that the phrase of the class, whose class, is the object of the transitive verb take. Let's read the explanation together. The speaker indicates the object of the transitive verb salute with the President, Jesus Christ, and the subordinate clause, whose class I take, linked by the phrase of the noun whose class to the main clause. The speaker links the subordinate clause as a description for the President, Jesus Christ, to the main clause from the phrase of the noun whose class. The phrase of the noun whose class consists of the possessive determiner whose to indicate the same object as the President, Jesus Christ, and the noun class to indicate an object that belongs to the President, Jesus Christ. The phrase of the noun, the phrase of the noun whose class to link the subordinate clause to the main clause indicates the object of the transitive verb take in the subordinate clause whose class I take. We can break the sentence into the two clauses. The first one is this: I salute Jesus Christ. The second one is I take Jesus Christ's class. So the speaker links the two clauses by finding the shared indication. In this case, we find that the second shared indication is in the shared description because determiner is classified as one of the descriptive words. Still, the speaker can link the two clauses because the speaker can apply the determiner whose instead of the possessive determiner in the second clause. And the speaker states the first clause and the speaker links the second clause by the determiner whose right after the President. And the speaker states what is owned by Jesus Christ class right after the determiner whose. So the phrase of the phrase of the general noun class is like this: whose class. And this part, the object of the second clause is fully stated as the speaker replaces Jesus Christ into the determiner whose. I salute Jesus Christ, whose class. And the other part of the clause is simply stated after the phrase of the general noun class, whose class I take. Let's read this explanation. The speaker links the subordinate clause to the main clause because the object Jesus Christ of the transitive verb salute to be the President corresponds with the determiner Jesus Christ to reveal the subject that the object class in the phrase of the noun Jesus Christ's class belongs to as the object of the transitive verb take. The speaker applies the phrase of the noun whose class as the subordinating conjunction to link the subordinate clause to the main clause to replace the determiner Jesus Christ of the phrase of the noun Jesus Christ's class that indicates the object of the transitive verb take. The phrase of the noun whose class as the subordinating conjunction is stated behind the President Jesus Christ in the main clause. The subordinate clause is stated inverted in the arrangement of whose class, the object, and I, the subject, and take, the transitive verb. This is how we interpret the linked sentence, like the second example. And the third example is this. Jesus Christ is the one whose voice the righteous motivation is. In this sentence, we find that the precedent of the determiner whose is the one. And the speaker intends to give us detailed information about the object that belongs to the precedent, if you want. So we can break the sentence down like these two clauses. Jesus Christ is the one. And the second clause is like this. The one's voice. The righteous motivation is the one's voice. Because we find that this phrase of the general noun whose voice is the subjective complement in the subordinate clause. The subject of the clause is this, the righteous motivation. Yeah, and let's read the explanation together. The speaker indicates the subjective complement to define the subject Jesus Christ of the be verb with the precedent the one, and the subordinate clause whose voice the righteous motivation is. The subordinate clause whose voice the righteous motivation is linked to the main clause with the phrase of the noun whose voice that the determiner whose and the subjective complement voice that belongs to the precedent the one consists of. Thank you for watching. We will continue to study about this third example in the next class. Thank you.